I am finding the extra light at the end of the day a real joy, and I'm pleased the evenings will be even longer next week. It makes me optimistic that I may start to get on top of my growing list of gardening jobs. I love listening to the dawn chorus while I go about my morning gardening and animal chores. I've been spending much of my time tackling the informal cottage garden, as I know it will receive very little attention when I get going in the cut flower patch. It's great to see my autumn planted bulbs growing on so well, but I regret not planting some crocus, so I will definitely be doing that this autumn. When I look at the garden and feel disappointed that it's a bit untidy, I remind myself how it used to look and instantly feel better. Sometimes I think we are all guilty of expecting far too much from ourselves. I've got to grips with the majority of my seed sowing now, but I still have a few more things to get started at the weekend, and then my zinnias in a couple of weeks' time. Because I am only starting smaller amounts of things, I have been using 1 litre pots and then pricking the seedlings out into trays to grow on. I thought you might like to see how my plant babies are growing on, which ones are doing well and which ones I may need to give up on. I've got seedlings dotted all over the place at the moment. I've got some in the polytunnel, I've got some things hardening off outside, and then I've got some things that are not quite big enough or ready enough to go outside yet in the greenhouse. So we'll take a look at the things that are hardening off first of all. So I've got a lot of things that are in my cold frame in the cut flower patch hardening off, but that's not a huge area, so I've actually gone ahead and made use of my digger tracks, which are going to be new flower beds this season. And I've got them covered in an enviromesh, which I'll leave on during the day because that's just helping with a little bit of extra protection, because obviously these plants have been nurtured in the greenhouse for some time. And then overnight I am just, rather than carrying them back into the greenhouse, which honestly is pretty full, I'm covering them over just to offer them that extra bit of protection. So these are just lids of cold frames that I used to have at my old property on my patio garden when I didn't have a greenhouse. And I've kept them because, as you know, I like to reuse, recycle, and they come in very handy. So for the purposes of showing you what's in here, I will go ahead and take the enviromesh off. But this is how I'll be leaving the plants during the day. And they've got lots of protection in here, so it's a really good location for me to harden them off. Everything in here is looking really well, apart from some of the larkspur, which the leaves have started to yellow, but these larkspur are for the cottage garden anyway, so it's not a terrible problem if they're not perfect in terms of the foliage that I need for my cut flowers. So we've got things like, this is an autumn sown helichrysum, and that was a spare. And we've got a few Orleia there. Again, they're for the cottage garden really. Here are some of the phlox that you would have seen me start on the damp kitchen towel. And you can see I've got a couple of gaps there. But considering the mouse had uprooted them all and they'd all been replanted, that's not too bad. So they're growing on really nicely. And this is the cherry caramel, which is a really popular colour. So they're hardening off now. But they won't be planted out until they're a lot bigger, because I have real trouble with the slugs with those. So they'll have to be potted on at some point. And then this is the stock that I'm trying for the first time this year. This is the one you can cut and it should come again. This is the quartet series of the stock. This is more of the cornflower, the black ball, and I've got these in the polytunnel. And these are the marigold I'm trying for the first time this year. These are the buttercream. I think I accidentally said white swan in one of my previous videos, and that's because I've got that on the brain because somebody suggested to me that that's what I should be growing. But these are the buttercream. These cornflowers are the classic magic. Got some more cherry caramel phlox there, and then what's this phlox? Oh, this is the moody blues. I've got, again, the empty cells are where the mice uprooted them, and I could actually, I've got a couple sharing there, I could prick those out and make that a full tray. And we've got some feverfew here. This is the larkspur that I said is yellowing a little bit. I think I actually fertilised that with a different fertiliser, and I wonder if I didn't get the concentration right. This is some more of the omphaloides that I've started. Here's one that I'd started in the autumn that I didn't plant out, so it didn't get eaten. So that's the difference, obviously, between one started in the autumn and the one started in the spring. And the ones that the vole had eaten are recovering. They don't look as good as this one, but they are obviously further ahead than the spring sown ones there. And these are new to me this year. I've not grown them before. Crown daisies, very easy to grow. A good one if you've got children and you want to grow something with them. And then the last cornflower variety, this is Blue Lagoon. My phlox, my creme brulee, a snap, one last autumn sown snapdragon that hasn't, the rest are in the polytunnel, I think I've got 4 in the polytunnel. Canterbury bells, which have been so neglected and really could do with some care. I mean, really they should have been planted out in the autumn. More Canterbury bells. Some little violas here, Phacelia. That's really good for self-sowing. You don't really need to start it in trays, but I'm just covering all eventualities here. And then we've got some sweet peas, various different varieties, and these are the spring sown. Well, I think, did we sow them in February? I think we did them in February. I've got autumn sown ones that are already planted. And the truth is, I don't know what this is. These are some perennials that I'm waiting to see. I got them as plug plants about 2 years ago, and they've never done very well. And I'm waiting to see what they are. And then more sweet peas. And then these are some of the first year flowering dianthus. But I think when I plant them, I'm going to plant them down a lot because they've got really weak lower stems. So I'm going to plant the lower stem under the soil and see if they'll start to root further up the stem, which they quite likely will because they're really easy from cuttings. So I'll get those planted as soon as they finished hardening off. And then these two are statice I grew last year. Look at them, and they never got planted out, poor things. So they'll all stay in here, definitely a fair few more days yet, hardening off. My last frost date isn't until the beginning of April. So when I do start to plant things out, quite often I will still protect them. And I don't protect them with fleece. I don't go really heavy-handed because I only plant out hardy annuals anyway. I just use this Enviromesh, which is really good because it's really well ventilated. It still lets moisture through, but it just offers a little bit of protection against the frost. But that's why I wouldn't plant any half hardy annuals out until after my last frost date. So while we're looking at things that are hardening off, we'll go and take a look in the cold frame in the cut flower patch. So here are some sweet peas here that were autumn sown. You can see it's early morning. I haven't even opened the tunnels up yet. We'll do that in a minute. So this is my cold frame, and in actual fact, I don't close this cold frame at night anymore. These are things that have been planted in the autumn. They've been out here most of the winter, and they're really well hardened off, and they could happily be planted out now. So we've got some larkspur here, and these ones are for the cut flower patch, and to be honest, they could be planted now. And I think these are a mix, and then these are the limelight rose. I've got my verbascum here. These are moving to my new flower bed on the entrance. I'm really hoping to get on with that job this weekend. These are the omphalloides that were eaten, and then I put in here, and touch wood, they do seem to be recovering. These are some eucalyptus that I planted in the autumn. Some Dorcas, again, these are autumn sown Dorcas, and some perennial scabious, and some sting nettles that I'm growing as well. These are some honesty seedlings that I've dug up to replant in a more appropriate position, and also there's a lady locally to me that I know would like some. And then these are crown daisies, which, to be honest, I probably won't do anything with those. I will go ahead and use the fresh started ones, because these, I autumn sowed them, but I should have got them in the ground or potted them on or something. We'll see. Maybe I'll pop them in the cottage garden. So anyway, that's the cold frame there. And then I've got lots of things that I haven't started hardening off yet in the polytunnel. Oh, I need to kick these sweet peas out because they're in the way. These sweet peas are for my patio, but again, I'm bringing them out during the day and popping them in at night at the moment. Oh dear. Now these I want to prick out today. These are the Camelina sativa, the gold of pleasure, which last year I didn't get planted out quickly enough and they bolted. So I want to take much better care of these. And then these are some larkspur, which I find the larkspur grow much better in individual cells. And when I leave them in the flat trays like this, they just do not grow on so well. So again, I need to really get those pricked out of there as well. So that's a job I can do today. And then we'll have to go under this crate, the mouse protection crate. I'm not doing a proper tour today, but while we're in here, let's have a sneak peek at how things are going in the tunnel. So this is the cornflowers and corn cockles back here. Some Ami, some Gadisha, Nigella, anemones, my poor anemones that have been eaten so many times. And then that's the feverfew there. Larkspur, a few of these have been eaten, so I've replanted them. So that's why you've got a much smaller one there and there. And then obviously these ones have been in here longer. I need to water in here today. Scabious, snapdragons, calendula. This one obviously isn't pink surprise. And do you know what? I think I'm going to pull it up because it's just a, you can tell I've been pinching it out. It's just a pretty rubbish orange. It's not really what I want. So I can put a different calendula in there. Oh, my straw flowers are still really happy in here, my helichrysum. I've never grown them in a tunnel before, but they're looking really good. Wallflowers, dianthus, and this is a sea of Greek cress back here, but it's not supposed to be. It's actually more straw flowers there and more wallflowers, and then the phacelia is really going for it, which is great. And then all this Greek cress here is self-sown. So we've got a couple more mouse protection crates here. And in this first one, we seem to have a lot more larkspur. More larkspur. More larkspur. Oh, some beplurum here. I think that's a phlox. Oh yeah, that's the tapestry. And then my bells of Ireland, which look dreadful. I think we might have a fail on the bells of Ireland this year, if I'm being honest. We might have to put something else in their place. And then back here we have got the calendula pink surprise, scabious summer fruits, more beplurum here. My lavatra, I think this one's the really pink one, not the pink blush, silver cup. And then I can't actually see the label for what these plants are back here, but I'm guessing they're stock because I'm pretty sure that's what they are. Yes, I think, and they're not the cut and come again, they're the one and done variety. And I've got a feeling they might be apricot. While we're here, we'll just do our jobs. We'll just open the tunnel at the other end and then open the low tunnel as well. This represents my morning routine at the moment. Let air into everything. And I think we'll go ahead and pop the drip lines on in here as well. So I'll go and get the hose pipe in a minute. I love listening to the early morning chorus. In fact, if I take my microphone out, I wonder if you'll be able to hear it. Okay, so far, apart from the bells of Ireland, which looks terrible, I don't know whether to bother restarting those or not. I'll have a little think about that. And then in the greenhouse, we've got lots of stuff that's a bit smaller. And then something quite funny that I do is when I've sown something and then I've got all the leftover compost, when nothing's germinated, I stick it all in a tray and see what happens. So this first tray is a mix of just all sorts, because it's what hadn't germinated, and then I stuck it all in this tray. So we've got some phacelia, we've got some of the omphalloides there, and I've got to be honest, I'm not sure I know what some of these other things are. We'll have to wait and see when they're a bit bigger. So along here, these are things that I've been germinating for the cottage garden now. I've only just sown them. So the coquilla, that's purple passion, some salvia, and some marigolds and some cynoglossum. So they are going to be for the cottage garden if they germinate. I think the cynoglossum will, because that was fairly fresh seed, but the other things, some of the seed is a bit older. And then I mentioned my Nigella seeding wasn't going particularly well. And you can see, I mean, there are some coming here, but yeah, that's one of the things that really hasn't done very well for me. But then we've got things that are doing a bit better. So this is a type of millet, so one of the grasses that I grow. And this is a Coreopsis Incredible Swirl. This is some status here. Some of the lupin I'm growing. I just planted my first lot of sunflowers, so no germination yet on those. And these pots here are all things that actually I've pricked out, but I'm just giving them a chance to see if anything else germinates. What have I got in here? Oh yeah, that's the milkweed I got the seed from my dad's. Be interesting to see how that comes on. Who's this that's coming up? Oh, rat's tail status there. Nothing here. Who's this? Oh, poppies. Probably should have just chucked those outside on the ground. Helictrum and I haven't got very many xanthemum. I think I needed 12. 4's not really quite enough. And then we've got a mix here. Oh, yeah, this is Cosmos. So this is the double bonbon pink bicolour. This is the double click cranberries. And I've actually pricked them out into these cells. I didn't start them in here. This is the snow puff. This is my Lavatra, the paler one, the pink blush. These are the marigolds I grew last year, crackerjack. And we've got some Ami there. To be honest, I really don't need that many. But it's a good insurance policy. And then I've got the dill. And do you remember I got the false fennel because my dill seed is really, really old. And I got the false fennel to see, you know, in case the dill didn't germinate. But actually, they've both germinated. And then, oh, these are my Achilleas. These are the summer berries. And then back here we've got, oh yes, my Salpiglossis, which I'm growing for the first time. There. Who are these tiny people? Oh, my little toad flax. These tiny, tiny, tiny little seedlings. Oh, my Helichrysum. More tiny people. And then these are even more tiny people. These are my Argyratum. And this is the one I grew last year. This is the red flint. And then I had some really old seed. I wanted to see if it would germinate. And one germinated. This is Melope. But the seed was, I don't know, about 7 years old. So it's not bad if one germinated. And then we've got a few salmon queen scabious there. Snapdragons are really funny, aren't they? How they grow at such different rates. So we've got a real mix. Obviously these are my favourite. These are my Chantilly, so they're the most important. And then these are all a load of old seed I threw in. But the apple blossoms I grew last year, they're quite good. These are Canary Bird, they're a yellow, they're doing really well. The Brighton Rock's not doing very well, but I'm not that worried because it is the shorter of the varieties that I grow, so it's not the best for cut flowers. Oh yes, and then we've got some lupins that I started from seed here. Gosh, this compost has gone rock hard. Need to give them a drink from underneath. And then down here we've got some things that nasturtiums for the butterflies. They're basically caterpillar food, but I put in the cottage garden. And then I just managed to put my Tadiscus seed in, but I only did that was it yesterday or the day before yesterday, so that's why there's nothing going on in there yet. And then in here we've got a lot of dahlias. Now I haven't really given any of these dahlias any water yet, because I'm still sort of waiting for the frost to go, but I think I might water some of these today, because if you can grab hold of the tuber like that and it's still completely moving, you know it's not putting any roots down yet. Whereas if you get hold of one like this kernel bronze, this one has obviously, although there are no shoots, it started to root. So what I will tend to do is the ones, see that one's not, that one's got, yeah, some of them are definitely starting to root. So those are the ones I'd expect to see the shoots from first. And those ones I'm happier to give a bit more water, but the ones that haven't rooted yet will water very sparingly, because obviously if there are no roots to drink the water, you're just getting the tuber wet really. But at the same time you need enough moisture to encourage them to root. See, this one's rooted. Oh, that one's a bit rotten there. That one's rooted. Yeah, no, quite a few have rooted. So yeah, we'll pop a little bit of water in the low tunnel and a little bit of water. I say that one had rooted. Now, you can't really tell at the bottom of the pots because I went ahead and put a load of sheep's wool in the bottom of all my pots. So all you can see out the bottom of the pots is sheep's wool rather than roots. But if you haven't put sheep's wool in, a good way to see if they've rooted is just to look at the bottom of the pot. So I've still got a few things I need to get going. My zinnias I'm going to wait until we get into the middle of April because I'm not going to have anywhere to plant them because they need to go in the polytunnel and the polytunnel's full to bursting. I've started the sunflowers. I need to start the Mexican sunflower, which I haven't grown before. I need to start my Sahara Rebecca. And I have got a list. I have got a list of a few other things I need to start as well. But we're getting there. We can nearly tick off most things. And I'll have a little think about whether or not to re-sow the bells of Ireland or just to plant what I've got and see how they get on. I just absolutely love listening to the birds in the morning. I should really come and sit have a cup of tea, but unfortunately I've got lots I need to get on and do. Thank you so much for coming with me to check out all of my little seedlings that are growing on. I hope yours are all growing on okay. I still haven't caught my mouse in the greenhouse, so I've taken to feeding him now. So I leave him or her food on the floor of the greenhouse, to which they fill the bellies of a night, and then they seem to be leaving my plants alone. I'm hoping the mouse will get so fat that it's not going to be able to get in through whichever entrance it's using. Because I know they can squeeze through the tiniest holes, so I'm really fattening it up. I really hope that your seedlings are growing on well, and that it's going to be a good start to the season. It's very dry at the moment, so I think we're all doing okay for slugs and snails, but of course I'm dreading as soon as we get a bit of rain that we're suddenly going to have an invasion from our little slimy friends as well. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.